Today I'm back in the Kia Stonic, Kia's take on a small SUV or crossover, or whatever you want to call it. More specifically, this is a Kia Stonic 2. There are two trim levels to the Stonic, one is called 2, the other is called Launch Edition. So that makes this effectively the entry-level version of the range. But unlike many other entry-level versions in many other cars, this does not feel like a cave, which is a good thing. Now the Launch Edition gets two-tone paint, a reversing camera, a part leather interior, sat-nav and blind spot detection, amongst other things. That was the car that I drove on the launch a few months ago. But prices for the Launch Edition start at £19,695, whereas the Level 2 costs £16,295. And yet you still get quite a lot. Like you get the same screen, but rather than sat-nav, you get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so you can still get navigation through the screen. And yes, you don't get a reversing camera, but you get rear parking sensors. And you don't get a part leather interior, but to be honest, I don't think you really need a part leather interior on a small car like this. Essentially, it just isn't as big a compromise going for the Level 2 rather than the Launch Edition. So if it was my money, I'd probably go for the Level 2. And it's not like the Launch Edition gets bigger wheels, different tyres or anything like that. It drives and looks pretty much exactly the same. Now this Stonic has the 1 litre engine, so it's got 118 brake horsepower and 126 foot-pounds of torque. The last Stonic I drove, as I said, it was a Launch Edition, but it was also the 1.6 diesel. Now the other petrol engine is a 1.4 litre, but it's got less power, it's less economical, and to be honest, it's just not as good. So if I was going to go for a petrol engine, I would definitely go for the 1 litre rather than the 1.4. 0 to 60 miles an hour takes 9.9 seconds, and the top speed is 115 miles an hour, and you should get about 56 mpg. So it isn't quick, but it's okay. It's kind of normal for this class of car. The steering is light, it's quite quick, and it responds to small movements of the wheel. You can feel the car react, but you just can't feel what's happening. You can't feel how much grip you've got, you can't feel what the tyres are doing. So yes, it might react to what you're doing, but it's quite numb. It also doesn't have much grip. Now I know that won't come as much of a surprise for a junior Kia crossover, and the roads, to be fair, have also been very cold, very slippery in the week that I've had this car. But it's easy to overcome the front tyres, it's easy to push them too hard, and when you do, you can't really feel that happening, as I said, because the steering is quite numb. And if you go over bumps, again, the front tyres, they struggle to get the power down. You can see the little traction control light flashing on and off, and it's pretty much whenever you've got a little bit of lock on or whenever you go over a bump, the tyres lose grip. It rides okay though, it's based on the suspension in the Rio, but it's not that much taller, so it doesn't roll around much more than the Rio would, and it only really feels unsettled when you go over big, sharp potholes. And the gearbox is a 6-speed manual gearbox. Granted, it's not quite as good as the Kia Picanto, but then again, the Kia Picanto I think has got one of the best gearboxes in any small car on sale at the moment. I really like that gearbox. This, it's close, it's not quite as good, but it's almost there. As for the way it looks, I like it. I like its face. It looks kind of aggressive somehow. And on the inside, as I said, I like the fact that it's the entry-level trim, effectively the Level 2, but it doesn't feel like a cave. It's still got loads of kit. There are 3 things to think about when looking at a Rio or a Stonic. Firstly, if you're buying a Stonic because you want a little bit of extra space and you want that higher ride height, there is very little of a compromise in terms of how it drives. Secondly, if you're going to go for petrol, this 1 litre is about £700 more expensive than the 1.4, but it is £700 very worth spending. Just buy the 1 litre, that is the engine to have. And thirdly, if you're struggling to work out whether you'd go for a Launch Edition or a Level 2, I will say that my money would be on the Level 2, because yes, you might get a few extra gadgets and gizmos and just have a bit more stuff in the Launch Edition, but would you really miss that extra kit? I don't think so. I think the 2 is already very well spec'd. Now, don't forget to like this video, don't forget to comment, don't forget to subscribe, and and don't forget to visit newmotoring.com.